Well,
I'll call the workshop to order.
this is early voting for primary.
First item on the discussion tonight will be a fine-free library proposal, as Natalie Wright will present for us.
Did everybody get one of these in their email? Would anyone like one in paper form? Okay. You'd like one?
Yeah, I'll take one.
I'm sorry, what is, well, I'm sorry, I was
Library.
distracted. Yes,
Fine-free
I would-
library proposal.
I distracted him. Thank you.
That's okay. I don't want to feel left, I don't want to feel left out.
I've got it.
How you doing? Good to see you.
There you go.
That's a- It's gonna change.
All right, so the Fine Free Movement, it's an initiative that's spreading across the country already. Roughly 10% of public libraries in the US have gone fine free. And the reason for this is that fines promote inequality within the community. Research has shown that those who turn in their books late are going to turn in their books late regardless of the fine. Those who turn them in on time are going to turn them in on time. The fines don't actually change human nature, but what they do is they unfairly penalize those who are under economic stress. And so the idea behind going fine-free for the Collegedale Public Library is for those citizens of the city who are experiencing economic stress to not be cut off from the library and its resources because of that economic stress. And so I've got on this sheet several things. There are other benefits to going fine-free. Libraries who have done it have shown tremendous increase in goodwill towards the library and the government. Most of them have seen increases in circulation after fines are removed. They've seen an increase in new cards, new members for the library. Staff morale goes up because you have not experienced a rough day until you've had to argue with somebody over less than $1 for 30 minutes. And it actually does return more items to the library in the long run, because some folks, once they run up their fines, they're like, well, I'm just going to quit, and they keep whatever they have. So this is going to have some financial impact, but not a large financial impact in the grand scheme of things. We collected in 2021 $5,388 worth of fines. If you look at this as a percentage of the library's budget, it's 1%. And so that is what we would miss out on. However, if you check out the chart I've got in the bottom left there, fines have been decreasing for some time anyways, with the rise of digital downloads, because there are no fines with digital downloads. You know, they return automatically whether you want them to or not. So we're probably going to see a continued decrease in revenue taken in by fines anyways. And I wanted to point out that fines are not where we take in most of our money. The largest source of income for the library is actually non-resident cards. And that equals as a percentage of the library's budget, 7%. And the idea is that, you know, we may find some more increased revenue to make up that 5,000 just in non-residents signing up for cards. Because I have had many a non-resident card holder ask me, how come I have to pay for the card and pay late fines too? So I read a bunch of case studies about this. And like I said, overall, there has not been a single case study that has shown any ill effects from it. And the public goodwill has been tremendous. And I really love the one here, High Plains Library District in Colorado. You know, 6 months after they eliminated their fines, circulation was up, card holders were up, and 95% of materials were returned on time. So I do want to make it clear that this is not absolving patrons of all responsibility. The way we would set up the system is after 21 days of being overdue, then that book would roll over into lost status. Once a book is lost, it charges the amount of the book to the account. And once your account's over $5 with us, then your library card is cut off. So if people want to continue using the library, they have to bring their materials back. But once they would bring the item back, under our current system, they bring it back, they'd be responsible for those late fees. So like I said, sometimes people just don't bring them back. But now, if you bring an item back to us, then your card's ready to go again. That fine, the cost of the book will automatically roll off, and then the card will be active again. And this, where they found the most good in this is with children, because children's books sometimes get under beds or behind car seats or wherever they may end up. And so children's late fees, they did a nationwide poll of families asking what was the biggest impediment to using their library, and it was late fines on children's books. So there's a couple of exceptions. We would need to still have late fines on the park passes, because those, we have agreements with those, Chattanooga Zoo and Audubon Acres, that those will only go out to people for a week. So we need the late fine. And those do have late fines kind of high to encourage people to bring them back on time. Those are $4 a day. And ILL books that we borrow from other libraries, we would still need to have fines on those because they're not our materials. Does anybody have any questions for me? No?
So where are we gonna potentially make up this $5,388 this year?
Okay, let me show you. What you're going to do is you're going to make it up a lot with your fees and the service of copies, the papers that they have to have when they come in, and duplications. We're going to make more money off of that than we are on the 1%. Okay. Also, what's going to be good is because of all the new housing that's coming and the people that are moving into the area, it's going to entice them to use our library. And we're going to bring up more with them joining our library, which those fees, it should go up even above this, So I highly recommend this. A lot of libraries have found that this is beneficial in the long run, especially with the new technologies and things that we have. So if you look in this section right here, it shows you that the copies, the notary services, the printing, the faxing, all that is what probably will increase. Make it for that. A lot of it, like I said, I believe is going to come in because of the new developments that we have, the new people that are moving into the area. They use our library. We have them coming from Cleveland. We have them coming from all over, Ottawa, everywhere. This is the main library that they use. And we want to keep drawing them to us. And because our goal is one day to have a bigger and better library than what we have. We've increased over the years.
So this 7843, that's already coming into the budget.
That's already coming in.
I'm not sure you're going to increase that much to make up the $5,388.
If you increase the people applying that are non-residents, they're going to be using those facilities.
We're hedging in between in the budget on decreasing out this $5,000, but based on the projection of cards sold and the extra 1.6% they make on notary services, et cetera. So we're kind of splitting the difference.
So right now it's new residents outside of Collegedale, because Collegedale gets the library for free, correct?
Correct.
So it's the outside of Collegedale we're hoping to.
So last year we budgeted, and we'll get to the exact numbers in a little bit, significantly under in terms of revenues. And so this year, as we've tightened it up on what we've received and the projections, it splits that $400 down to as close as we think it will be, based on some growth of additional homes down like Goodwater Road.
Do we try to get books back from people?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do we call and try to get books back?
We send emails. We actually have an automated email system that sends, and text messages that sends out late notices and second late notice and really overdue, and then when it rolls over into lost. And so they get notified multiple times.
I'm certainly not opposed to this, but I do have a statement to make. As a parent, a teacher, a grandparent, one of my main goals in all three of those areas was to make sure that kids grew up realizing that choices have consequences. And I see our society doing more and more It seems like, okay, I'm not out there with the kids anymore like I used to be, but it seems like we're taking, and I heard you mentioned responsibility as one of your items here, and that helped me a lot. But I think that that's something that we all need to be mindful of, because it's not the same as it used to be, but choices without consequences is a huge malfunction. And I think that that's something that, I'm not sure this is where we want to deal with consequences of choices, but it's one more aspect of, I think what you're doing, I applaud it, but I just wanted to say that where are we headed with this as a culture, as a community? Go ahead.
May I? I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I think the consequence is going to come in the fact, like you said, with the 21 days, they're not allowed to check out. And also, even though for us, and I see where you're coming from, and I agree, because I raised my children that way, be responsible and
Good
take
for
it,
you.
yeah. Wait a minute, it was hard. But I think we can't take the place of the parent. The parent has to be the one to teach them all that. We have to set examples, I understand. But looking at the aspect of an educational ones,
That's a good idea.
and as being a public library,
Where's it?
I'm interested in making the resources available to the students and to the kids so that they can. There's nothing like having a book in your hand to read. I understand the technology and everything, but there's just something special about having a book in your hand, sitting down and reading it. And I think where the responsibility comes in, parents have to do that. Their consequence in this, correct me if I'm wrong, the consequences here is they will lose their right and the privileges,
Yeah.
And then let that child, if it's that child, when they start fussing at mama and daddy and wanting to go to the library and doing their little temper tantrums, maybe parent will grow up a little bit, in order to do that. Because most parents do things to get their kids to shut up. Forgive me, I'm just going to say that. When they start pitching fits. If you go to the grocery store, you see that, So I think that looking at it as a business aspect, looking at it as a community aspect for us to grow and increase, we have to adapt to what is out there for what our society, to a degree, needs, And I think that's where the consequence will be there.
So if we adapt, we're only adapting to 10% of the overall population that
1%.
doesn't do this. So I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, so I have to ask questions.
Yeah.
The other thing is, of the 5388, what percentage of that was people, adults versus children? Because the child just can't come in and check it out if they're under a certain age, correct?
Well, we do have children's cards, but ultimately,
The parent.
it's
Yeah,
always
it's the parents.
adults.
I mean,
Yeah.
the parents got to get them there, right?
Yes.
So do we know what percentage is?
I'm not sure I could get that split from.
Because I don't want to
there.
say it's all kids when it's really probably the adult being responsible that's not being responsible.
Yeah. No, it is, I mean, it's one of those things when the card gets cut off, the child suffers, whether it was the child's fault or not. And in most cases, okay, the child might lose the book, but the ultimate responsibility for getting that book back to the library
The adult.
lies with the adults.
So
And then-
how long before we replace that book? So after 21 day, we say it's lost. And it's a good book, it's a popular book. How long before we replace that?
If it's popular, if we've got a wait list for it, we'll get on that pretty quick. And we usually have multiple copies of the bestsellers anyways. We'll buy both a regular print and a large print.
So we'd have
we
to go ahead and buy another book if it was popular.
I'm so sorry, say again?
We'd have to go ahead and buy another copy of it if it's a popular book.
Yeah.
So
But-
money out of our pocket for somebody not bringing back a book.
But ordering through the vendors is a little bit of a slow process sometimes. So I don't think we jump on it like that. I think, we have to assess how many people are waiting, how long it's been out, honestly, what our budget is for that month, and whether it's something we're gonna go on ahead and replace or whether we're gonna wait a little while.
If I remember a couple of years ago, we changed the number of books you could check out at one point. Is that correct?
It might have been before my time.
It was.
It was.
Yeah.
So if I went in and I got 12 books and they're all late coming back, that's really hurtful to us, the library and the community. So I'm not really sure I'm bought into this, I'll just be honest with you, but I'm sure it'll come to us for a vote, right?
I'm not sure because it may be an operational choice.
I think it's to make it aware, from my understanding, to be brought over here that it has to come for us to approve for it to be.
I was pretty
We
sure
could
it
check
does.
with that and make
Change
sure,
policy, you think
you
we
know.
would?
I do want to stress that I think that we need to keep up with the times, and I understand the cost and the loss. Even in our school system, it's bad. There's consequences. Very seldom do they get the book back. What they do get is they hold the report cards and they lose privileges. That's basically the same thing. My interest is in, I want us to, it's hard to make a parent responsible because they're pretty much set in their ways anyway. I understand that. But they'll be the ones that have to face the consequence. Parent.
Yeah.
And I think that they do have a way to listen to their children. I'm concerned about all the new people that are coming in. We want to encourage those in Collegedale and outside Collegedale, because they're going to be using our library anyway. But we want to encourage them to become members, and that way we get costs through their funds. If we may need to look at that, maybe go up on the price of membership. That's a possibility. I don't want us to get hung behind. Does that make sense? I want us to move forward, and our library to move forward.
We used to get reports from the library, the number of users outside of Collegedale and number of Collegedale people using the library. I'd be interested in seeing this, if this is going to come to us. And even if it's not, I'd like to see that.
Okay.
We did used to get that.
We used to
It's been-
get
It's
that.
been a,
It was before
Um,
somebody's time.
Commissioner White?
yeah, it was before you know. We used to get it monthly, didn't we?
I've got two things. One, when somebody signs up at the library, do you have their credit card information on file?
We do not keep that information on file ever.
Okay. And then two, maybe something that we could consider is doing a 6-month trial for our own case study to see how it does. Because I am curious how it would affect people. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I hear everybody and consequences, things like that. But trial runs are something that we've done in the past on programs. And instead of just shooting it down completely, I would want us to see at least to do a 6-month trial run.
Would 6 months be more appropriate? Would you say more of a year to give it steadfast?
Most of the libraries in the case study saw results after 6 months.
Okay, that's what I'll make sure.
Yeah, I think I saw
About
6
time.
months on one of these
Yeah.
or something I was looking at.
And I'm for that, for us to give it a C.
I think we just don't want it to hurt the people in the community that wants books because they can't get them because somebody's not doing their job or due diligence,
Right.
bringing it back to us.
So why don't we get some metrics together on typical return times, the other ones that the vice mayor asked for, with the idea being that we'll start July 1 on a 6-month trial for no fees. And I'll coordinate with Sam on what we need to put in to do that.
Okay.
Is that good for you?
And then, does that sound all right, Natalie?
Anything else, Natalie?
Hard enough.
I'm curious as to,
No.
do any of you have one of the old reports where I could see all the metrics that were reported?
There should be on file, even in your computer, because Joanne kept them all.
I
There's
don't
not
think I
there.
have them.
I'll try, let me go back. I'll have to go through my dead boxes.
Yeah,
and
I,
see.
it's
'Cause it's
like I
been a while.
give a quarterly report to the board at each meeting. Although I don't break down the new cards by member or non-member, but I can start when I make that report, I can make a report for you guys.
It used to, I know Joanne used to bring them to us. Do we have it for when we had meetings in our records? Because I'll be honest, with you, I'll be
I'm
hard
wondering
pressed to
if
get
maybe
them.
They'd be in the minutes.
That's what I'm wondering,
not
if they might be in the
positive.
workshop minutes or something. I'm not sure that I have it because I came off the library board, now I'm back on it. And I just shredded a bunch of stuff, so I don't know if I have it, because you're looking at maybe 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. Joanne wasn't really a big computer file keeper.
Okay.
So-
I'll see if I'll
Surely
go
we've
through-
got it somewhere in our file.
There should be a record somewhere. I will go back through. I've got things in boxes. I'll see if I can find a copy.
Well, this is an opportunity to rewrite it. I'll put together what I think you guys might be interested in, and then if there's something else that you think is missing, you can tell me, and then I can include that each time.
Basically, how many non-residents are, correct me if I'm wrong, that are using our library,
Mhm.
that we have to compare to those that are residents, and let us kind of get an idea of like how much monies are coming in from where and how many's using it.
And Ted, our prior city manager, also, I thought, did something based upon the, retirees, because they got a discount on the cards, and we were tracking that.
We did revise the policy for those who retire from the city, even if they're not city residents, can continue their
Yeah.
card membership.
And also, if we could just see that again in the fees, what we're charging,
Mhm.
that would be, and that would help get me up to, compared to where I was before.
Okay.
That it? Awesome. Okay. So moving on to agenda item number 2, Kirsten Hirt will present the community survey report.
I think I've already sent you the survey report that I received from the National Community Survey, HOCO group. Out of the 2,700 residents that we have randomly selected, about 16% responded, which nowadays is actually a good number.
Yeah.
10% is usually the target, so 16 was very pleasing. That does not include the people that took it online. This is strictly who was statistically randomly selected through their methods to reflect the population at Collegedale. I just want to hit on a couple of high points. I gave you a summary, but there are some things that are really interesting that were found and I think very satisfying for the work that we do here. About 9 and 10 gave positive overall ratings for the services Collegedale provides. 98% of respondents rated safety, feeling safe in their neighborhoods as a positive thing. In terms of mobility, it's interesting that 8 and 10 rated the ease of travel by car positively. Obviously, public transit fared lower compared to some of the cities that were benchmarked. But overall, people really rated our walking paths and trails positively, which is a nice thing too. Economic health is a huge priority for respondents, with 9 and 10 rating the local economic health as positive, which is a good thing. 6 and 10 rated Collegedale positively as a place to visit and work. There is some room for improvement, but I still think that compared to the benchmark, this is a higher score than other cities have received.
I don't think so.
Infrastructure was rated universally positively, with 93% pointing out garbage collection as very positive, and street repairs fared very highly too. There were a couple of other high points in the benchmarks. So what the survey does, it benchmarks, compares to all the other cities that have taken the survey as well. So in our case, within the last 5 years, it was 600 municipalities nationwide that we were compared to. And I want to just read to you a couple of areas where we scored higher than the average of those 600 cities. So in terms of cleanliness, quality of parks and recreation opportunities, availability of paths and walking trails, the city as a place to raise children and to retire, safety, economic health, and overall our public spaces that people want to spend time in. One thing where we scored lower than a lot of cities was general engagement. So a lot of the respondents did not vote in the last election, or they did not visit or attend a public meeting or watch it online, which is probably something that is to be expected in some cities, but it goes to show that we need to use social media more to get the word out about our meetings and get them involved. Another thing that is notable is that the survey asked about priorities and perceptions, and on basically everything that participants said they were very interested in and prioritized, that we scored very high. So in that graphic over here, you can see that in safety, parks and recreation, economy, utilities, we score high, and that is also high on the priority list for those respondents. There are a couple things, that, didn't score as high. I want to put mobility into context. There were a lot of questions about public transportation. And a lot of people just answered, don't know, because they didn't use it, so just in context a little bit, but I think everything looks really good. I think that the government performance perceptions, I think we've started making some progress on those by, being more transparent, sharing our stuff. We just shared the budget on including Instagram, but on social media. And I think that was very well received. So we will hopefully see some developments in the responses in the future. That's basically it.
Very positive.
That's good.
Any questions?
I thought your summary was really good, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
If you think of it, it's not a big deal, but I would be interested in what kind of questions were under health and wellness. If you could just send those to me.
They're all in that
I'll-
report, so it goes totally in depth. So what they did is they went with a positive, popular, I guess, where they used the top 2 answers to, say, okay, 9 out of 10 said extremely satisfied and somewhat satisfied, just to make it a little more digestible. But in the report, it goes down to the nitty-gritty into the numbers, so you can see
Right.
exactly
Yeah, no,
how many residents.
I don't care about the numbers. I'm just
It
curious
lists
about the questions,
Yeah, it lists the
the
questions.
questions that were asked.
Yeah,
not
it
how
lists
they
the
voted.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't care how they voted. I just want to see what the questions
yeah,
were.
it's all in there.
Thank you. So, y'all ready to move into budget?
I'm ready.
You know,
Let's do it.
I appreciated being out early.
You're welcome. That's a testament to Michelle, Ashland, and the key managers for pushing so hard last week to do that. Ready?
So
This is my mother. This is my mom's phone. This is my aunt's living out. This is
really?
my mother's over.
Really? Who gave it to
My
you?
daughter's with
Who,
it.
the university? They raised that. Right. Right.
I like the page numbers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. See
It helps.
Just for
We
you.
hope.
It's easier to find if you have a page number.
And this will be posted or is posted
It's
on the
posted.
website? It's already
It is
posted?
On the website and throughout social media. Website on Friday and then social media today. So,
As proposed.
Before you start on that, I just want to say that I think it's really nice we have that information. We can think what we want to, but till we find out how people really feel about it. And so it's very, very positive, I think. Very much worthwhile.
Alrighty. So here's the general fund revenue summary, breaking down the 5 different locations of funds. Property taxes are projected at about 5.5 million. Other taxes just under 1.4. Sales tax 3.9. Grants at 1.7. This includes 1.64-ish in federal COVID money. So that's why that number is so large. And then miscellaneous income is just under 800,000 for a total projection of 13.4 essentially. Property tax rate still holding at 1.3897, and the penny is just under $40,000. So I'll run through these. So property taxes, we're projecting a slight decrease this year. That's essentially just tracking a little more accurately based on last year's projection and what we actually received. That's why that's down just a hair. Utility tax is up significantly. Again, that is more accurate based on what we've received thus far this year and projecting for the total year. A slight increase in local sales tax of 6%. We stayed flat on mixed drinks. We're tracking real close to that this year. 8% bump on business tax, again, based on what we're tracking. Telephone and cable franchise taxes are continuing to decrease. We expect they will decrease over time as more people cut the cord. And so I would expect that every year you see those 2 columns negative. or flat. Slight bump on hotel motel, 26% on building permits. We have a tremendous amount of building going on. I want to note that the 74.9 from last year did not include the Plant 5 expansion permit. We didn't know if it was going to come in last year or the year before. So there was actually another 150-ish thousand on top of that in receipts, but we kept that out as an outlier. And then the 94 is based on the last phase of Wellesley, finishing up Barnsley, and then the other permits that we're getting. Stayed flat on economic development fee. Grant revenue, again, is way up. That's that 1.6 in federal money. That was not included in last year either. That's why that number is so low. Otherwise, it would essentially be pretty close to flat. 23% in federal law enforcement. Again, that's tracking on how we're doing. Same thing with sales tax at 25%. No more state income tax. And then the state beer tax is a slight under projection on what we've received this year.
That doesn't mean they're drinking less. It does.
Drink, the beer tax is down a hair, and we did project down a little bit under. So, gas tax, 4% bump. Again, that's based on what we've seen so far this year. Inspection fee went up $1,000. TVA gross receipts went up 4,000, which is 4%. Police supplement pay stayed flat. Coalition money went up 26%, and we are negotiating with and have negotiated with the other small cities to increase their portion too, which will come in later, which is why that's up.
So are we going to ask questions when you get through this section, come back and ask questions through this?
I was hoping to just run through the whole thing and we could go home and eat.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Would you kind of smack them around?
Nope.
What would you like?
I'll wait till you get through and I'll come back.
Okay.
Before you move on.
Library, we've shown it down 10,000. City court fines and costs stayed flat. Interest earnings is down. The 99 was a miss. That was based on the previous year when they were very, very high. And so the 12 is actually very similar to where we are. You'll see the same thing on the sewer fund. Interest earnings are significantly down from what we had projected. And so we just tightened up based on what we're actually receiving. Sale of surplus property is way up. That is a big initiative that we had last year and this year, and we are continuing to do so. If it can be sold, we are selling it and getting some revenue back in. Insurance reimbursement is up. That's based on what we've actually received this year. Donations are down just a hair. Appropriation from sewer stays flat. Miscellaneous revenues are up. That's again based on what we received thus far this year. And then last year we had projected $1 million fund balance transfer that we ended up not doing. And it's zeroed out in this year's budget. We're not projecting a transfer at all. But we did not do the $1 million transfer in this year's budget.
So back on page 4, the 370, the $182,000 increase,
Where are we at?
Page
31120, page 4.
Mhm.
Talk to me why that went up so dramatic.
Let me tell you why. It was because I incorrectly would put it into property tax, and then the auditors would come and move it into utility tax. So it's just something that should have been in utility tax all along.
Good answer. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so.
Which is also why property tax is down.
Yeah.
By nearly the same.
I was, okay. My next question is on the next page, page 5, the coalition up 22,600 basically.
The other cities, so we had an agreement in 2017 for reimbursement, and it had not been updated, and they agreed to update it based on.
So part of a contract, or they're just gonna,
We will have a contract that we will vote in through each commission, but it's Bridget's reimbursement. But right now I have an email from all of them that they will, essentially Collegedale had been carrying more of the
Yeah,
load.
I
of each
remember.
Annual raise.
Yeah.
And they've all agreed to go back to the same percentage splits just based on a bigger number.
Have others joined in? I know that there was one that asked me about it, and I was hoping they would.
We did.
So that 22,600 is a combination of all the other cities. It's just because we hold the main account, right?
Correct. We hold it and then are reimbursed each year.
Right.
And it shows up as a revenue on the reimbursement. And there was just that delta of 22.6 that,
That's not the
Was-
cost of taxpayers of Collegedale. That's just what's coming in as revenue from the other small cities.
correct, the 108 is the revenue coming in. Our total expense is 29 and some change.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Question. Could you tell me why the library is showing a negative of the,
We were projecting fund free
pardon,
or decreasing fines.
decrease in fine? Oh, that's a projection. Oh, gotcha, okay.
So. Any more questions?
One, how did the reassessment, property reassessment affect the property tax at all?
The reason it's down is that's the money that's showing up in miscellaneous taxes. The 160,000 that was being moved, that's where that 182 came from, is the bulk of it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Expenditure breakdown. So we are proposing 436,000 for planning community development, 195,000 for municipal court, 790 for admin, 905 for municipal building and codes, 4.9 for general government, 2.95 for police, 2.89 for public works, and 155 for parks and rec, for a total expenditure of 13.2. So legislative expenditure, holding that flat at 2,100. Municipal court expenses, salaries are up 4%. We have proposed 4% COLAs for all employees, and then slight kickers for the deputy court clerks, two of them, which is why this shows up at 6%. Overtime bumped $760. It just shows up as a huge percentage, but in real terms, it's pretty small. OASI rides the same salary increase at 6%. Legal services to the judge did the 5% annual bump. Then we held flat on other operating for a total increase of 6%.
So are we doing across the board salary increases this year?
4% is what's proposed. And then same thing we did last year where we analyzed each position, and the ones that were further under market, we added a little bit more to that.
But didn't we do a pretty good bump last year?
We did.
This is a cost of living
We're actually
Increase.
inflation.
because
So
of,
we're still trying to claw back to market rate. And this proposed budget gets us reasonably close as I think we can be. But we are falling under inflation. We've had a couple of quarters in that 6+% inflation. Numbers for the year are looking at just over 4. And so that's why we're proposing that 4% COLA. And then when you include the kickers where we looked at each spot, it's a total increase of 4.25% in salaries that we're proposing.
I'd like to see a breakdown of the salaries, who's getting increases like we did last year, because some of those were pretty big. And
Yes. So the ones that got big increases last year would just be getting COLAs this year. The ones getting COLAs plus the kickers would be the ones that were still under market rate. And that would be the assistant court clerks, a few folks in public works, a few police officers, et cetera. But I can send that out to you.
I thought we were bringing all the police officers in at the same rate.
When
So
they
it
first
wouldn't
start.
be, wouldn't be under.
well, some of the ranking officers probably are not market rate.
I want to say it was the corporals got a couple $100 extra. I don't think the lieutenants got kickers on it, but it was that sort of thing. Some of the special services got a little extra bump.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see that. I feel like it's hidden in here and I just can't put my fingers on it and see it.
I'll send it to you.
I'm sure we'll see this later, but hourly employees are going to get 6% also?
4.
4%.
4%? Okay.
It's
Thank you.
4 minus
Yeah.
special circumstances where we're trying to get to market.
When do we rewrite a contract with the judge? Is that with his reelection? So is that included in, is that 5%?
We assume that that's what we've been doing.
Okay.
So we went ahead and projected that again.
Okay.
I would be surprised if he doesn't ask for it.
Oh, I'm sure he will. He hasn't failed yet every time.
Most lawyers by trade are not lawful.
I could have a conversation with him.
Or not.
Election expenditure, $3,000 this year. Nothing last year. Administration expenses, so everyone in admin, it's baseline 4%. The reason this is showing down is that is the previous city manager's supplement and the, that coming out is why it's down.
Okay.
So there's 4%, and then you subtract out the 68 or so, that was his supplement for 6 months. So that's why OASI rides that same thing. We're holding fuel the same, equipment lease the same, and then no vehicle this year. So that zeroes out, nets 11% down for admin. Questions?
So you're not getting a vehicle this year?
We bought one last year, it's just not.
Okay.
Yet, but we don't have the expense for anyone in admin for a vehicle this year.
This
Okay.
is fixed.
Yeah,
We had
gotcha.
to change.
Yeah,
It was a one-off.
I think so.
Planning and community development, again, 4%. The reason it is showing down is we are putting Brittany under Andrew in codes enforcement because 90+% of what she does is for codes enforcement. And that's why it's showing down. We're just moving her over. OASI, again, rides, overtime is flat, as almost everyone is salaried over there. We're upping the business and lobbying initiative. The bulk of that is to do with our branding program coming out in the fall. That's for printing materials, letterheads, business cards, et cetera, to follow suit in that branded direction. The Collegedale Tomorrow Foundation is $118,000. I believe it was that last year as well. That was the last minute bump, so it should be flat. And then development code revision. When we got into it, we budgeted that $70,000 this year and started getting significantly higher quotes back. And so we did not spend that money. We spent less than $10,000 of it for a sign at the EDC. The rest will roll over into this budget. And then what we plan to do is start in the fall on that development code revision. Most of those numbers have come in around 200,000 off the top of my head, so it would span 2 budget cycles.
So you think the 118, we bumped it up last year?
That's what I recall.
At the last, that will probably be an amendment for you when you vote the budget, because you did raise it. I don't remember by exactly how much. I'm sure it was probably that.
And that doesn't put our donations, well, that's expenditure.
But it doesn't, we don't exceed the 1/3 rule for the foundation, if that's what you're asking, at 118. So. Building and codes expenditures, again, that 19% is bumped up for 2 reasons. One, Brittany is moving over. Also, we're planning, so John is going to retire in a year, and we're planning several months, 3-ish, for his replacement to work beside him, since John has his finger in basically everything at the city. And there's so many things that he does that frankly, we're not going to be aware that he did until 30 days after he's gone. So we're budgeting a little extra for the new person to see the true depth of everything that John does. Overtime held flat. OASI, again, rides. Janitorial's up 1%. Utilities are up 8%. It's just a closer projection based on what we're paying this year. Telephone and sales is down 7%. Andrew continues to work to try to optimize our cell phone packages and that sort of thing.
Did you change carriers?
We did a trial. It was not successful, so we have remained with Verizon. Inspection and code enforcement is up $9,900 based on this year's expenditures. That's signage and that sort of thing. We have to bulk order like our zoning change signs and that sort of thing. This year we need to order, and that's why that's up. Next year, we expect it to drop back down. But when you run out, you run out. So we had vehicle fuel flat, vehicle parts and repairs are down a hair. Building repair and maintenance is down a hair, and then capital outlay at 277.5 is broken up over 135 for the Medic 5 remodel, with the main focus being on the exterior restrooms for the public and skinning it and cleaning the building. $58,000 to repaint the interior of City Hall, $40,000 for a codes enforcement vehicle so that we can then roll the Expedition down and get rid of the Jeep. The Jeep is hanging on by a thread, and by the time we can get this next vehicle, which is taking probably 10 months, it'll be at the end of its useful life. We've proposed $20,000 for a sign at City Hall. We've proposed $15,000 to relocate the copy room over into Ashland's office and then use the copy room as the assistant chief's office to make it a little more efficient and not have as many people sharing offices. And then we've proposed $5,500 for repairs at the EDC on the rear, which will become the front, to kind of make it look a little better.
And the F-150, is that John's?
That would be for Andrew. By the time that it gets here, it'll be about the time that John's retiring, and then we will roll the Expedition and Andrew's driving down to to John / the new codes enforcement person. And then we'll get rid of the Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And the City Hall sign, is that to mirror the Commons and Veterans Park?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the thought process and what is proposed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And the rear panel, what is that? I mean, is it like an exterior?
Correct. The rear panel off the deck at the back of the EDC has seen its useful life. And when that becomes the front of the building, we felt like we should represent the city a little better. So we're going to do some repairs and polish it a little bit.
Just one thought triggered when you're talking about signage. This silver bronze, or silver brushed nickel out here, the sign on the side of the building, you really can't even see that based on the background to it. Maybe while you're getting some letters made or something for somewhere else, see what some darker letters would look like, because you really, times a day, you can't even see that word, those words up there at Collegedale Municipal Building.
Okay.
It's something that I think would really help.
We'll include that as we're
What?
looking at. We'll include that as we're looking at
It'd be
signage.
something to think about anyway.
When you talked about the rear of that building is gonna become the main entrance?
No, Appson Pike will be relocated
Yeah,
behind the building.
Behind it,
So
we
there'll
want it
be
to look good.
15,000
Okay.
cars a day driving by.
I misunderstood what you said.
I may have not been clear.
No,
At first,
turn
it
on
sounded
the
like they were
hearing
getting a
aids.
new entrance, but yeah, it's the back of the building will be more popularly seen.
Yeah,
It looks like the back of a Manhattan tenement from 1905, I mean, in the back right now. We can do better.
like something down in Laurie's side.
In the Bowery.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we did skip the page though.
There should be, yeah.
Yep.
there.
So on 14, other expenditures. Consulting services are up 18,000. This is reflective of what we're actually spending on consultants, surveyors, outside resources. City attorney is down $677. Postage is down 500. Advertising and newsletters down 2,700 as we go.
Where-
Did we skip a page?
You skipped
Yeah.
that.
499,
13.
It's 13?
Yeah.
1499.
All right, then we'll start at benefit. Sorry. Got one ahead.
Is there
Benefit,
something on this page?
There
you
is.
don't wanna take about?
we'll find out shortly.
That HRA might sting.
Yeah. Benefit consulting's down 35. HRA is up 25. If you remember last year, there was a big bump to get closer to what we were actually spending. We're continuing to tighten up, but we were a hair under at 300. Long-term disability is up 3%. Medical, we're projecting up 4. Retirement's up 4. Life insurance is up 2 points. Unemployment's down $1,300. We're flat on training and education. We're up 13 on library funding. That's the 3% annual built into the contract. And then we're up 1,500 on local options, sales tax commission expenditure. Now we're on 14. So again, consulting's up 18,000. It's more reflective of what we're spending. The city attorney's down $677. Postage is down 500. Advertising newsletters down 2,700 as we roll more digital. Dues and memberships down $200. Flat on recreation holiday programs. Legal services retainers flat at 89. Accounting and auditing is up 8,800. That's due to the additional complications. We're flat on the Humane Society at $50,860, and then down 3 points or $3,200 on property tax commission. Hotel motel tax up $50. Computer support up $50,000. This is part of our push to update our electronics and set us up to, state of practice where we need to be. Bank and credit card fees are down 35. Coffee machine and supplies are flat. Office supplies are flat. Safety is flat. And then insurance is up 45,000 or 18% for a total expenditure projected of 3.4.
And the hotel motel tax, that's just what we pay Hampton County to do that.
Correct. All right. Fun one.
You better roll up your sleeves, buddy. We got some stuff coming for you.
Who picked me to go first?
Sun Tzu, take the biggest one first. So salaries in reserve up 8%. That is the promoting one officer up to a K-9 officer, the difference there, and hiring an additional patrol officer to backfill the vacancy created by the K-9 position. Overtime up 17.5. That is to better reflect where we actually are this year with overtime. OASI again rides salaries at 8%. Training and education's up 9,000 or 8,359%. It's closer to what we're actually spending. More officers and more young officers. We're going to continue to have lots of training. Dues and memberships are up 1,600 or 1,655. Shows is a 41% increase, but the real number's a little smaller. Repair and maintenance of equipment is down 1,200. Records management fee is up to 64,278. That again is more of our moving to technology and records retainage and that sort of thing. Dispatch contract is up 6%. Sort operations are up 6,450. Equipment and supplies are up to 152,828. That's a $111,000 increase. That's again the technology that was already approved and the K-9 that we're proposing. The K-9 unit this year is 2,500 instead of 500, again with the additional dog, more medical and food. And then clothing and uniforms are down 4%.
Are we already hiring a K-9 officer?
We have not.
We have not. We will do an internal assessment for internal applicants, and we'll bring in other K-9 officers to help us evaluate who we have and make a recommendation.
So go back to the salaries for a minute. So you've got a new position in here.
To backfill the K-9 position.
You're putting back the K-9 position.
So what we are proposing.
We filled that K-9 position with somebody in prior years, right? I mean,
What
We did. I'm sorry. Me or you?
What we're proposing to do is to open up for internal applicants through an assessment center to pick a K-9 officer. That officer would be promoted most likely out of patrol And so we're proposing to fill that vacancy in patrol with another patrolman so that all of the shifts stay staffed and everyone can have sick days or vacation days and that sort of thing. And the K-9 officer can float throughout the different shifts to be more effective when they're most needed, rather than being simply an Alpha Bravo Delta team officer.
So let me state it a different way then. So take the K-9 completely out of the picture. You're saying you wouldn't need another officer if you took that out?
I'm not saying that we wouldn't need another
No.
officer with the impending
It
growth.
should be a yes or no, yes or no.
With the impending growth, we will need another officer. And so
I mean, we've hired, what, 4 last year, year before?
2.
But we lost some too.
No, I'm just saying new positions. We added
We
positions.
added 2 new officers last year.
And year before that?
I don't,
MTS recommended 5.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think we're up to those 5 almost.
I don't think so.
Uh-uh.
We're
Had a
2
lot
under
of
with this
turnover.
one.
I don't think we added any with the MTS rec. We added 2 last year, and then because if we added 1 more this year, I think we would still be under the 2 recommended by MTS.
So I'd like to see kind of a history then, back 3 years, where we were 3 years ago, where we are today.
Okay.
Because I know we've added staff over the years.
But I think it was replacing
Yeah,
staff
but
that
those,
left,
but
right?
if they leave though, we still replace them. I'm talking about
Yeah.
new positions.
We've only got 26 positions. Currently, are we at 28?
We have 26 right now.
Yeah, we're
Adding
right.
a new one would make 27.
26 is where we've been
Yeah,
sitting.
I understand
We'd
people
already-
leaving. Those are not new positions. Those are replacements.
Right, 26 is the current positions that we have staffed.
When we were at 24, MTS recommended 5 additional
Yeah.
officers.
Right.
So with this new position, we would be at 27.
And then from what I understand too, correct me if I'm wrong, my memory, when we talked about our budget last year, we didn't put in a K-9 unit because we were going to put it in this year.
We pushed it last year,
Yeah.
correct? We did not
We
request any
didn't,
K-9.
we didn't get it last year because of others. So we're following through with what we said we were going to do last year in that aspect.
And if I made it, maybe help you out, Vice Mayor, when I came in as chief, what we did is we had several officers, you remember, that were assigned to the Special Operations Unit that were pulled out of patrol and were doing special investigations type details. I pulled those officers out. I did away with that team, if you will, and put those officers back on the road into patrol to increase patrol coverage, cut overtime, allow for training and different things. So we've now got all the shifts equally staffed. So if we promoted or made a K-9 officer and didn't hire another officer, that would pull an officer out of patrol, which would make one of the shifts lopsided, would pull an officer off the road. And so what we're proposing is to hire another officer. That way patrol stays right
So
where it
you
is.
just said it right there. So it is a new position in this 126,000.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, because it's done.
So what was MTS's or the FBI's requirement per officer per 1,000 of citizens? Is it,
I don't remember the number off the top of my head.
but based off of growth projections with the new development, we are going to be we will be under the or recommended FBI.
I'm not sure what the recommendation is, but we are staring at a significant amount of growth in the near term.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
30 a huge number.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah, we deal with a lot here.
Well, and keep in mind, the last phase of Barnsley is under construction now. It's 44 more homes. Or, I'm sorry, the last phase of Wellesley is 44 homes. Barnsley is going to finish building out probably in this fiscal budget, it'll be mostly built. That's another 135, so that's 180 homes.
And the
There's
one
the
in
project
Appleton?
out in Appleton, that was 165.
And Pratt right up here.
Well, I'm not disagreeing that they're not needed.
Right.
I just like to see that
And they're building new
a number
apartments.
of new hires in the salary amount.
Yes, there's one new hire, but there's additional expense for the promotion of the patrol officer to the K-9 officer.
Down the road.
Correct, as part of next fiscal year.
And I'd like to point out that our decision to invest in technology, cameras and radios, I think has proven itself in the last 2 months to be very valuable because both a radio malfunction and cameras were used in the situation recently that speaks to the need for
I'm a
having.
believer in technology. Everybody should have it. I don't care if you're a chaplain or whatever. You should
have it. Yeah, especially we're told the public. The K-9 unit, you said this is medical also? Okay, so that would put, okay, what I'm looking at is that it covers, I guess we need to talk about that in a different area, that if it's the K-9 officer who gets hurt in the line of duty, that we cover all their medical, not just the limited, and then if they retire, we keep up with it. Are we going to do that again?
It would be part of the K-9 policy that
Okay.
we're going to finish completely writing.
Okay, because I'm very interested in that, because I think, of course, I love animals, but the thing is, I think that an animal, even though he's trained to put himself in the line of duty and to protect, I know he's a dog, but if it comes to a point that he has to retire due to medical or whatever, he should have some retirement too. We should continue maybe just the general, if nothing else, the general upkeep and like they do with the food and so forth.
I think that was brought to y'all
Yeah, we,
a year and a half ago.
yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah,
Yes, and so our intention is to follow that
okay.
policy. All right. The remainder of PD, so other operating supplies up 1,600, vehicle fuel up 7,500. That's a reflection on current gas prices essentially. Parts and repairs up 5,750. Most of that honestly is tires. Tires are high right now and they're biting us every time we turn around. But that's the bulk of that increase. Fuel for the motors, that's for the motorcycles. As we're using them more, we're adding the money to cover the fuel.
I haven't seen it.
NCIC computer rental is down 14%, or 8,300. Public relations is up 3,850. That's part of our more transparent push in public relations. I don't even remember all the different programs you host. The National Night Out, the
Is it the
National Light
Easter egg
Out.
hunt?
I think that's,
Easter egg
I think
hunt.
that's such a value for
Yeah.
our community to have.
And then we're proposing $337,000 in capital outlays. That is 4 Dodge Durangos, 1 F-150 plus equipment. K-9 program startup, that's things like kennels, training, acquiring an animal, et cetera. And then replacing the Glock handguns for $9,000. We do expect to do pretty well surplusing the ones we have, but we have to buy the new ones first. The average pistol we have now is about a decade old, give or take, with thousands of rounds through it. So it's time. And
So are those Gen 2s?
The ones we have a mix of Gen 2s, Gen 3s. So we're looking to get everybody to the newest gen and then
Wow.
surplus what we have.
Yeah, we are behind the times then.
they really are about a decade old. So, and with the surplusing on the backside, it will do pretty well.
So the new Durangos we have sitting, when are they gonna get in service?
As quickly as we can get them. I mean, it took us, 6 or 7 months just to take possession of the vehicles, and then we're changing our upfitting now to where our mechanics and our guys are doing upfitting. And so once we got the vehicles in our possession, it's just been a matter of getting everything in place and getting the equipment ordered and delivered to us so we can get them upfitted and get them on the road. I'm as anxious as anybody to get them on the streets and get them running.
Yeah.
But the biggest part is it just took us, 6 or 7 months just to take possession of them. Because things are so back ordered, I guess, or whatever, with the vehicle manufacturer.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's because, even,
Worse than houses.
this is just minor, but, for example, the car accident where the young man ran into my car with his bicycle, did $4,300 worth of damage. And they told me it was going to take 6 months to repair my car because they had to get the parts. Everything was back ordered because of the way things are working right now with getting things into their dealerships and so forth. There's even a 6-month waiting list in some cases.
So I have a couple of questions about Public Works doing your cars. Do you feel adequate, your staffing, to be able to do that? And will anything suffer as a result of it?
We're not planning on having anything suffer. No.
Didn't we vote last time or something that y'all were going to do that? You were sending somebody for training to do that?
Public Works brought on an intern to help
Yeah.
with the day-to-day oil changes and tires and that sort of thing to free up our mechanics to be able to focus on the upfitting. And so far, it seems to have been a really good fit, real good go-getter.
How many
And-
total cars do we have?
We are at, I mean, including motorcycles and line cars, we're at 40, I think 46 or 47 right now. Of those, we have 19 that are in the 1 to 5-year-old range. 16 of them are in the 6 to 10-year-old range, and 9 of them are in the 11 to 15-year-old range. But of course, we'll continue, I mean, as we get new cars, to roll those down and then continue to surplus the older cars and refresh our line cars. We've got a few now that are deadline due to mechanical reasons or that we were using for parts that we no longer need, that we're getting ready to look at surplusing. So we'll continue to surplus, you know, as we replace these older cars and get the newer ones in.
So typical useful life for a frontline car is approximately 5 years. 26 to 27 officers, it's about 5 a year to flatline it. Some years will be a little under, some years will be a little over, but just amortized out, it's about 5 a year.
So how many Durangos right now do we have on the lot? Let's say
That are waiting to be upfitted, we have 5.
5.
The 5 that were approved last year
Yeah.
are still pending to be put out on the road.
Are these the same 5 that I had questions about to begin with?
I'm sorry.
Okay, when they first started talking about Durangos and bringing them on, and I did a research,
Mhm.
are these the same 5 as those that were at that
No,
same time?
no.
It's a different one?
No, that's a different set.
Yeah,
So they are working.
this
well.
is the second round of,
That's what I guess,
Durangos.
that's a better way of saying it, the second round.
and so now we got the third round.
This would be the
Third.
Third round, okay. So they're doing good.
They've been well received.
Pardon?
They've been well received.
I don't have to ride in them, so. I've been.
Any other questions on PD?
Do it.
Fire protection, confined spaces is up 3%.
Just whenever you're so used to
Fire
saying it.
protection is down 4,000, but it's basically zero. And the ISO rating holds solid at 30,000 for a total of 1.08.
What are the confined, refresh my memory, confined space?
The confined space fees is the training to be certified, and it's up $212.
So confined space is, they provide rescue services. If anyone's in a confined space and becomes incapacitated, they have to come in and rescue. So they have to stay trained and certified to perform
To
that
do.
rescue.
That's really, really applicable in sewer. The bulk of it, sewer is a confined space and off gases, toxic gases. So
And the reduction of fire is because of property tax.
it just rides it.
Down here has to be.
Public Works. So again, we're proposing the 4% COLA with a couple of kickers. The reason this is down is moved the staff engineer, his portion over to general, and we did not fund the city engineer's salary out of this number. That's why it's down 180. So overtime is up $1,900, 68%. We've adjusted the way that we handle overtime, and we've had some additional call-outs for weather. And so that's just a little closer projection. Again, OASI rides salaries, so it's down 18%. Street lighting, we're holding flat. Clothing uniforms is up 3% or $509. Landscaping supplies is up 6 or $1,572. We're holding other operating supplies flat. Vehicle fuel is up $49.91. That's our projections based on the increased fuel cost this year. Vehicle parts and repairs is up 3%. PA repairs, we've dropped back down to $30,000 or 34%. Other repair maintenance supplies, it's up $1,463. This would include maintenance on things like the vet park and that sort of thing that we're taking over. Sign parts and supplies, we're holding flat at $93.20. Safety supplies, we're holding flat at $96.01. Road repair material, we're up 6% or $37.37. Roads and streets resurfacing, we're upping 135 or $650,000. We're expecting to do a large restriping push this year. That's very visible, and it's a great public safety enhancement. We're creating a line item this year for rental equipment as we've tried to right fit equipment. That doesn't always mean buying it, and sometimes the most cost-effective thing to do is just to rent it. And so that's what our plan is this year on equipment that we're not going to be using on at least a weekly or even monthly basis. Rather than letting it sit and depreciate, we'll just rent it. And then capital outlay is down a point. We're projecting to do 200,000 in Greenway sidewalk projects, 80,000 for a bucket truck for the hook lift, a 4x4 tractor at 75,000, a mini excavator at 55,000, and an equipment storage building at 40,000. Any questions on how it works?
And do you feel you're adequately staffed at this point?
At the current time, yes, we are. You know, like we spoke earlier with TDOT's new project finishing up in the next year and a half, 2 years, we're gonna have to look pretty tight on what our maintenance requirements are gonna be for that. Currently, we're our property staff.
Are you having a staffing turnover?
We have had some staffing turnover lately. Yes, we've had 2 people that decided to go private sector, do their own thing. Not really a lot we can do that.
Yeah, I know the police department's had it as well, so I'm just kind of curious.
We had a individual who went in our utility department, then went to another utility department, and then we were able to recruit a person from that utility department to our utility department. That's kind of how it goes in this business.
So Parks and Rec, salaries are up 8%. Again, there was a couple of kickers there on top of the 4%, which is why it's up. Overtime, we held flat. OASI, again, rise salaries, so it's up 8%. College Rec program held flat at 20,000. We decreased the recreation and holiday programs down to 1,100. We decreased equipment supplies down to 16,000. Other operating supplies, we held flat at 1,200. We decreased fuel from 700 to 500. Vehicle parts and repairs, we decreased from 2,000 to 1,000. Other repair and maintenance supplies, we flattened out at 0. This is mainly reflective of how of rolling Parks and Rec into planning and community development. So a lot of those type things will show up in other places in the budget, and we're optimizing the expenditures on the programs that people are utilizing.
So that doesn't mean we're not going to have holiday programs.
Correct, but we're not going to try to compete with some of the private programs as well. Waste collection and disposal. So salaries are up 8%. Again, it's 4% COLA with some small kickers for a total of 6,500. Overtime, we held flat at 600. We're up to OASI will ride at the salary bump, at 561 surrounding, which is why it's showing at 10 instead of 8. Landfill contracts up 3%. Green waste recycling's up $2,700, which is 16%. Garbage carts are up 48.76. We need to make a big buy this year for Wellesley and Barnsley, and we're just down. So we'll just make a big buy this year, and that's why that's up. Other operating supplies, we held flat at 1,067. Vehicle fuels up 36%. Again, fuel prices are up. Vehicle parts and repair is up 14.72 or 6%. Commercial waste pickup held flat at 14,570. And then capital outlay is up $20,000 or 8%. And that is the automated garbage truck that was going to be purchased in this year's budget, getting rolled to next year's budget. So we're using this year's budget to buy the used truck that y'all voted on.
And the commercial waste pickup, that goes back.
So when we annexed a certain portion, they were told they would
Yeah.
have garbage service.
Have any of those gone away lately? I mean,
It's been a couple of years.
I mean, do we look
since
at
they
that?
fell off.
I haven't seen any follow-up that I recognize. They say the same list.
I thought we
The
quit
commercial
doing
waste
that.
pickup.
Oh,
No, we
yeah,
can't.
They're all the
It
same.
was voted in with the annexation ordinance.
I'm just wondering if any of the names that we agreed to are no longer, if they sell the business.
They sell the business, they fall off.
And I was wondering, do we check that from time to time?
What I see when we cut checks is the list and the check attached to it and highlights each one actually is checking. So
Yeah, one may have dropped off, I'm not positive. Look,
Yeah.
Great American Deli, No, a different name.
Did they sell?
I don't know.
Be interested to see because they sell. It was my understanding we wouldn't do it again.
Right, it's been a long time since I've looked at the rules.
They're
Yeah.
still on the list. I know, but I'm saying like one of them may have dropped off. I don't remember exactly.
We just need to keep our eye on it because that should over time. I mean, like, forgot Jerry Daniels' business. I think it was still on there at one point. And okay.
Any other questions? So waste is up 8% in total. Debt service and expenditures up 4%. So the interest is up to 67,285, and then principal is 375,000, for a total of 442,285. So general fund overview, 13,398,707 in revenues, 13,270,819 for a projected surplus of 127,888. Again, that is without a proposed tax increase. But also keep in mind, there is $1.6 million of federal money in that, propping it up. We expect next year, we will have to cut capital expenditures significantly and possibly do a fund balance transfer, which we have, to cover the capital expenditures next year. And then we will have a reassessment after that. And that'll be the time to have the conversation about holding the rate that was previously discussed, I guess, 4 years ago. But that's kind of where we are now, plus a couple years out in projection. Any questions?
Not considered budgeted for a surplus. Good
We
job.
did it. We did it just for you.
Good job.
Technology fund, 2,000 in revenue, $1,000 in expenses. Sewer enterprise fund, interest earnings are down. Same reason as the general fund interest earnings are down. Transfer from fund balance is down to 850,000. That's a 67% reduction. Sewer service charges, we're projecting a 1% increase to basically 2.5 million. Sewer tap fees, we're projecting 40,000. That's based on this year and all of the additional homes coming online, the Pratt project, Wellesley, et cetera. And then debt service from WWTA zeroes out. So a total revenue of approximately 3.385 million. Sewer enterprise fund expenses, salaries are up 6%. Again, that's 4% with a couple of kickers, which is why they bumped. Overtime went up $72 or 3%. OASI, again, riding salaries at 6%. Utilities are down 6% based on what we're spending this year. Other repair and maintenance supplies are up 14,000. Again, that's based on what we're spending this year in our aging pump station. So capital outlay, we are projecting to decrease by 62%, but still spend $1,075,000 in capital outlay. And the Collegedale pump station, we're projecting the cost to operate it will be down 12% or $40,433. The capital outlay projects we are proposing is to finish lining all the manholes in the city for $500,000, a pump station overhaul for $350,000, pave the driveway back to the pump station for $150,000. During our last several construction projects, we finally beat it to death and need to fix it. And then we are going to TV and clean portions of the Rabbit Valley line. That's the line out Udoir Ringgold Road. We don't believe that we will be able to do all of it for $75,000. We're going to do as much as we can for that and take that project in bites. Any questions?
Haven't we been doing the manhole linings for a while?
We have.
Yeah, we've been biting it off at about 85 to 100,000 a year, and this year we're gonna do them all.
Just by
It'll be 100%, all completely lined.
We'll be the only sewer service I'm aware of locally that can say that we're completely lined, and we'll have probably the tightest system in this region. Well, I'll say we'll have the tightest system in this region.
And
once we do that.
the goal going forward is once that's done, then we're gonna increase our TV and cleaning and then start our main line rehabbing to find any other potential leak sources to get our I&I as low as possible.
Good job.
Corey, is there a problem?
Where are you going to pave?
Pump station.
The road going from Udall Ringgold back to the pump station.
It wasn't prepared for all the heavy loads over the last couple of years of construction. So this is sewer enterprise fund expenses. That's what we pay Moccasin Benz to pass through 951, 9% increase. I would expect to see a 9-ish% increase every year forever. So. Sewer admin, long-term disability is down 4%, medical insurance is down 10, retirement's down 4, TML insurance is flat at 7931. Depreciation is up 34.9 to 290,000. Debt service interest is up 3% to 45.8. Debt service principal is down 11,000 for 242, and transfer to general fund holds flat at 15,000 for a total of 662,180. So that'll give us a sum total in revenues of 3.385 million, total expenses of 3.362 million for a surplus of 23,250. The total expenses are broken up as 1.75 approximately for general sewer expenses, 951,000 for disposal and treatment, and 662,000 for ad. Small surplus there as well. Airport Enterprise Fund revenues. So grant revenues, $261,250. This is the obstruction removal grant, or the tree cutting grant we're continuing to work on. Miscellaneous revenues, $425, held flat. Hangar rentals up 1% to $290,170. State maintenance reimbursement held flat at 14.3. Sale of aviation fuel, we're projecting to be up 92,000 for a total of 174,800. It's based on what we're selling now. Sale of jet fuel, we're expecting to be up 8% to 24,375. Again, that's based on what we're selling now. And sale of oil, we're holding flat at $1,275 for a total of 766,595, or a 3% increase in revenues at the airport. So expenses, salaries are down 14%. That's basically, it's accounting on how we're moving the salaries around. Everyone's getting a 4% COLA out there. I don't believe there are any kickers on their positions. And some changes in part-time. $500 for overtime, long-term disability, holding flat at 253. OASI, again, riding salary, so it's down 14%. Medical insurance is down $35.96. Retirement is up $172 or 4% for $44.67. Life insurance held flat at $54. Workers' comp held flat at $19.67. Unemployment taxes held flat at $250. Advertising held flat at $66.84. Utilities held flat at $14.770. All these that held flat, I'm going to let you read them instead of just, there's so many. Fuel for resale is up $19.50. That's 8%. We have to buy it to sell it.
How many employees do we have at the airport? Five. Are they
Two full
full-time?
and 3 part.
Yeah, I believe it's correct.
Two full.
Always have to
Right.
think about
Full,
it.
3 part.
Four part?
4 part-time and then 1 full-time under me.
Okay, so then yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and then I'm out of general.
All right. Fuel for resale for the avgas up 80,000 against the buy it to sell it model. Other items for resale held flat. Insurance held flat. 95.5 state locals down 75,000. This year we're proposing a capital outlay of 100,000. That is for a PAPI design of the approach, taxiway resurfacing, and solar lights. The taxiway resurfacing would not qualify for a TDOT grant. The PAPI approach may or may not, would take years and years, and the solar lights would take years and years. So we're going to just undertake these projects ourselves and get them done. We're 2 years into having trees cut. So at some point, we need to get some things done. All that said, gives us projected revenues of 766.5, expenses of 753.8, so a surplus of $12,000. I would expect depreciation to probably be a note on the audit, but we are projecting to be cash flow positive even with the $100,000 in capital improvements. Then drug fund, 2,000 in, 1,000 out. And that's it.
It's good.
It's a lot of work. Thank you.
It is a tremendous amount. We will send out the salaries by position spreadsheet tomorrow. I'll get with Kristen.
So back to the salary, and I'm not opposed to it. I know several years ago, we made a pretty good leap of faith in giving employees additional increases to bring them up to what the survey of the salaries around.
We didn't make as big a leap as you did.
Do what?
We did not make as big a leap as you thought we did. Last year,
I thought we made a
after,
pretty big leap on it.
Some of them.
some did, last year, we made a very significant leap.
Last
and still left
Yeah.
8% under market. So after this budget, where we're proposing, puts us at 11 or 12% under market, which is about where you're going to be as you start comparing individuals to market skill sets and that sort of thing.
This was about 4 years ago in the survey, so you're saying we didn't really,
Last year's budget, we took it from 70, what percent? Over 70% were under market. We cut that down to the mid-30s last year, and we're still continuing to try to not fall behind. Several of our peers have run into the same thing, East Ridge and Sodic, for example. We've had lots of open, and Red Bank, lots of open conversations during the coalition meetings. Everyone's trying to get up to market. There have been years and years of flat 2% and 3% increases that were just not keeping up with market rate. So everyone turned around and found themselves to be significantly behind. And now our peers are trying to catch up. So
I just remember not being happy that some of our positions 4 or 5 years ago got such a tremendous increase. And some of those being key managers, some of those being the other staff as well. I just think that we've got to get to a position over time where we're above it, so we're not always trying to fight it. And the reason I was asking Eric, how's his staffing? Is he losing it because, salaries, or is he losing it other things? Not trying to get too personal on why people are leaving, but, and I know there's always on the police department, people either going to go to better jobs or, outside the department, the grass is greener, if you will, in that saying, but I want to make sure that we're holding the good employees, because it does take time to train and get them up to speed where we need them to be.
And that's the goal. And I believe after the proposed budget this year, we'll be as close to reasonable minus crazy market shifts. If there's another 7% next year, we'll fall behind. If it holds to more traditional inflation numbers of 3-ish%, we'll probably stay about where we are, which I believe is about where it's reasonable to be after this proposed budget. But to your point, there's a big expense in onboarding and knowledge lost when we lose somebody. That's good. And just the two that Eric's talking about, it's a department of 22. So 2 people is 10% of this department. Well, they went private industry to open all businesses for salaries that we just can't compete with.
Yeah. Oh, and I would like to make just a quick comment. I saw a picture on Facebook about the airport and somebody taking a picture off the wingtip. I tell you, that's a great picture. I wish we would do more of that. Really kind of gave me inspiration for, our airport, what we can do and stuff. So I'm glad we'll continue to invest in the airport, but stuff like that small pictures make a big impression because I've heard a couple comments on it. So,
I'll credit one of our part-timers for that, who's building time towards his future flying career. So
Yeah.
he's really good at helping us out with doing that. So I'll give him the credit there.
You want to start us off, Chris? For roundtable?
I have nothing for this evening.
Eric? Chief Sapp?
Just quickly let everyone know, our new body cams that you guys approved have been shipped, which is a little ahead of where we thought we'd be, so that's good. The in-car cameras are still looking towards the end of the year, first of next year. But other than that, everything's going well.
good.
As you all probably know, Kirsten is leaving us May 13th for Lakeside. They've stolen her. So that's a good example of we have some recruiting to do. And I think we would be further behind if we hadn't made some advances with this job market right now. I think we would be much further behind than we are currently. But Kirsten still found a nice spot in Lakeside. And I think that hope that she does for Lakeside what she did for us. So I think she leaves Collegedale in a better place than she found it when she got here. So I appreciate her time here. Just wanted to let you all know.
Wow.
Like, change your mind?
That's what happens when we hire the best.
Yeah, that is. We just gotta learn to keep them.
Bridget?
Tennessee General Assembly is supposed to wrap up at the end of this week, so it's almost over.
Did they give us our measure we wanted with the income tax, with the sales tax?
No,
I didn't
no,
think they would.
but I did talk to Tom Griscom, who is doing a public relations push for teen males. He's from the Chattanooga area, and he has asked me if I will help him. We'll work together because we do believe next year we stand a better chance. So I think it's a progressive thing that we will get there. So, we had over 230 signatures. Thank you all for signing that. And that was very impressive, the mayor's letter to support that. That's it.
Michelle?
I don't have anything today.
The only other thing I have is the legislature chose to name the overpass at exit 11 after Representative Carter rather than the intersection. So that we'll go through with this year's budget.
The overpass where?
At exit 11, they called it a bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
named that
okay.
after him, rather than the intersection.
Okay.
That's all I have. Commissioner White?
Nothing?
Commissioner Garber?
Nothing.
Commissioner Baker?
Not at this time.
Vice Mayor?
I appreciate all the hard work from all the department heads and financial team to put this together, so thank you.
Mayor Lane?
Two things. I frequently get emails of individuals wanting to put information or requesting the option of putting some information on our website. So my question was, do I send it directly to Kirsten? But if she's leaving, who do I send it to?
Send it to Kelly.
To Kelly? Okay.
We've
had those discussions.
I
Right, and
frequently
generally-
send it to Tom, but then I don't know that he.
Send it to Kelly for now. But I will say, generally, we're not overly enthusiastic in using our website for advertisement outside of city events.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, I understand that, but the one that I got today or yesterday was about grants for senior citizens. And so I wasn't sure where that should go, if it would be to Parks and Rec or where.
Planning and community development will run point on
Okay.
that.
Yeah, Mayor, just send anything like that to me. I'll review it and see where it stands and then let you know and we can discuss.
I'm getting all these. I've inherited 9 million or 10 million or,
Oh, my God.
We all got
I
some that
just
said
like,
hello.
golly.
Every weekend.
Well, we all
I
got
should
one
be
that said
rich
hello
by now.
chosen one, so-
Yeah.
but we all got it.
oh, it wasn't unique to me.
I was impressed until I heard everybody else.
Send them some money, Tim.
Then just for a point of information, TML has restructured their bylaws as well as the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund have restructured their bylaws. And I'm on both of those boards. I can no longer be on both. You can only be on one of them anymore. So I have chosen to drop being the director of District 3 so that I will no longer be on TML board, but I will be on the bond board. So just so if you get information from another director from District 3, you know that I dropped that. And I appreciate the whatever in the district electing me. I appreciate their confidence, but you know, it was the second go around for me. And so I want to learn more about the bond fund. That's all.
We're adjourned.
It's,
She just has started on.
okay, I saw that.
That's
Oh.